honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahushai being the name of the Son who the world will call Jesus Christ, right? So now, again, first and foremost, all praise to the Most High, Shalom to all the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth that's in this thing in truth and in sincerity, doing all that you can do to stand in the last days. Now, as you see, according to the title of the video, this thing is you can't make this up. All right, I believe I titled it, if I'm not mistaken. This brother told me he was scared to wear his fringes at the plantation. All right, thou shalt not lie. At the plantation, a couple weeks back, I kind of ran into a brother that kind of see you kind of see around at feast days and things of such nature. The brother, he was in the camp, once upon a time. The brother, he labored, go to feast days with the brother, A, B, and C. And I see the brother at the plantation, right? Again, I see the brother at the plantation. Brother has on, no fringes. So, I chopped it up, talked to the brother, see where his head, where his head was at. And shalom to everybody tuning into the live, right? Shalom down in Israel. Right, and I kind of, chopped it up with the brother, see where his head was at. The brother kind of came out and said, he don't feel comfortable wearing his fringes at the plantation because he felt like Esau gonna fire him, and he felt like Esau is on him. So that kind of provoked me to make this video on you can't be timid, you can't be scared, you can't let Esau have a chain round about your neck and do God knows what with you and take your mind captive with this so-called mind games. And I want to kick it off with this quick precept because essentially, I talked to the brother as well. I talked to him. I kind of, chopped it up with him. And the brother to this day still refuses to wear his fringes at the plantation. Again, the brother, he know we Israel. He know what's going on. But his fear for the heathens, his fear for Esau overrides his fear for the Most High. And that's I actually want to get Romans 15:4 real quick, right? Romans 15:4 real quick. This Romans 15:4. It says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So we read these scriptures and we see examples of certain individuals that came before us. And you see what spirit our fathers moved in and certain individuals in the precepts moved in, right? In the Bible. You want to make sure that you're not aligning yourself to our wicked fathers or any wicked individual in the scriptures. And I want to get one more before I kind of get the precept I was going to get in. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number... See where I want to start at. Maybe verse 10. I'm at 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 11. It says, now all these things happen unto them for examples. And you have brothers, even the Most High in 2025, the Most High have set up individuals to be examples. Now you can be an example on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side. You can be an example on how to move in this truth, or you can be an example on how not to move. Again, thou shalt not lie. All right? Brothers in this thing, right? Diligent. The brother, his fear for the heathens and his fear for Esau is overriding his judgment for his fear in the Most High God. All right, let's get this in the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse number 29, right? So look, let's get this in Romans 8 and verse 29. I'm going to start at verse 31. It says, what shall we say then to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? And brothers and sisters have to remember these precepts. The Most High said, if the Most High be for us, who can be against us? Jumping down to verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or sword, or peril, or sword? And we read, on down, Paul is listing off diverse things that tend to separate a carnal man from things that he may like. And with this example, he's using the Most High Ba'ashem Yahushua. Who should separate us from the love of Yahushua? And that question should be nothing. All right, no way in hell should a damn Edomite, a job, stop you from keeping the Most High's laws, his ordinances, and his commandments. It says, verse 36, As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. And for a brother or sister that maybe had that timid, shy, scared spirit, that's the spirit that you gotta, fast and pray off. Call on a brother or a sister and get precepts, watch videos, do what you gotta do in order to get that timid spirit off of you. Because again, if your fear for Esau and America and carnal man overrides your fear of the Most High, you're not gonna make it straight up and down. All right, you're gonna be left here with the heathen, turned into ashes, like Lot's wife, how she was turned into ashes for looking back, staying in the world. Let's go to 2 Timothy 1:7. All right, 2 Timothy 1:7. And essentially, even though I say you shouldn't let your fear for Esau override your fear for the Most High, essentially you shouldn't even fear anything. All right, you shouldn't fear Esau whatsoever. You shouldn't fear this world. You shouldn't fear nothing because you know that the Most High is with you. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, for God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So it says the Most High hasn't given us the spirit of fear. The Most High never gave us the spirit of fear, afraid, being faint-hearted. The Most High He never gave nor granted man, namely the Israelite man. He never gave nor granted man the spirit. All right, read first and 2 Maccabees. Read how our fathers was always low in number when it came to going forth to battle. And seeing what Judas Maccabeus did, seeing the courage and the might and the zeal and the faith that he had in the Most High. Look at David and all his faith that he had. Read Hebrews 11th chapter and see how much faith that our fathers had in the Most High. Let's go to Philippians real quick. And I don't got no precepts written down, so Most High will I can get these in a timely manner and fashion. But nonetheless, let's go to Philippians, the 1st chapter, right? Because again, just showing how our fathers when it came to serving the Most High, when it came to having faith and came to believing in the Lord, our fathers was mighty in that. They had much zeal when it came to faith. But now you got Israel nowadays. You see brothers that, again, they faint-hearted. You read how you got that Saul's armor-bearer spirit. You read in 1 Samuel how Saul's armor-bearer, he was a faint-hearted, scary individual. You read how certain individuals in the scriptures, they ran, they stayed back from battle. They kept their hand from the sword. Again, the Most High is not dealing with individuals who put their fear and their strength in this world and not in the Most High. All right, Philippians chapter 1 and verse number, I'm going to start at verse 18. I'm starting at 19. It says, for I know that this shall turn to my salvation through your prayer and the supply of the Spirit of Yahweh Mashiach, according to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness, you see that? It says, but that with all boldness, as always, so now also, Hamashiach shall be magnified in my body, whether it be by life or by death. And that's the talk of a warrior right there. Right? That's the talk, that's the speech of a real warrior of the Most High. Again, if you timid because you scared to wear your fringes at work, you scared to grow your beard out, women, you scared to, put on that modest dress because you think somebody gonna talk about you. If you care too much about what this world thinks about you, straight up, you're not gonna make it. Because again, it's either you're gonna fear the Most High or you're gonna fear man. All right, I want to get there. Actually, I want to finish this first. Reading on verse 21. It says, for to me to live is Hamashiach, and to die is gain. Again, that's the talk of a real warrior, a real battler right there. At the Most High, again, he's not dealing with individuals that's faint-hearted, scared, men that put their trust and their strength in this world. How much time I got? All right, let's go to real quick. Let's go to Matthew, the 6th chapter. Let's go to Matthew, 6th chapter. This is gonna be a real quick video because I gotta, get back on clock soon. But this Matthew 6 and verse number. Let me see what I want real quick. Salakia, that's not what I want. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Maybe Matthew chapter. I may have to find that, right? Yeah, I may have to find that precept. Most I will, I could come back to it. But let's go to Galatians in the meantime. Let's go to Galatians, the first chapter. All right, I have to find that precept in Matthew. But let's go to Galatians chapter 1. And I'm going to read verse number 10. I'm going to read verse 9. All right, it says, as we said before, so I say now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you, then that ye have received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade men or God? And that's what you got to ask yourself. Are you in this thing to persuade man, to be on man's good side, to have a good relationship with the people of this world? Are you in this thing to persuade man or to persuade the Most High? Are you in this thing to show the Most High that you love him? Or are you in this thing to show man that you love him? It says, or do I seek to please man or God? For if I yet please men, I shall not be the servant of Christ. All right, if you seek to please men, you will not be the servant of the Lord Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. I actually do want Matthew 6. Let's go to Matthew 6. And I want 24, right? It's another precept I want in Matthew I have to find. But let's go to Matthew 6 and verse number 24. It says, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold right? Or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. And that's what Israel try to do. All right, so you come into this truth, you try to serve the Most High, and you still try to be a friend of this world. Again, I'm gonna say it for the 100th time. If your fear for Esau and his world overthrows and overrides your fear for the Most High God for the 100th time, you're not gonna make it. And if you got that spirit on you, that's something that you gotta fast off, pray off, do what you gotta do to get that spirit off. Because again, the Most High, he's not dealing with a faint-hearted individual, someone that has no confidence in his name. Let's get that in 2 Maccabees 15 and verse 7. Let's see what Judah said, right? 2 Maccabees 15 and verse 7, right? Quick precept. It says, but Maccabeus had ever sure confidence, right? But Maccabeus had ever sure confidence that the Lord would help him. That has to be the spirit and the mindset as we move throughout this place. The Lord said, be a wise as serpents and harmless as doves in Matthew the 10th chapter, verse 16 on down. And as long as you have that fear abiding in you, you serving the Most High, keeping his commandments, no evil thing shall come your way. All right, that's Ephesians the 6th chapter. The Most High say you shall block, greatly paraphrasing, having the shield of faith to block the fiery darts of Satan. But when you lack faith, when you do things that you know you're not supposed to do, when you're faint-hearted, it's going to show forth. And your works are going to be made manifest that you weren't really in this thing and that you don't really fear the Most High. Again, for Israel that wasn't probably on it before, that heard before, so again, it's a brother at my job, right? He know he Israel, labor with the brother before, kept feast days. Brother comes to the plantation, now he's scared to wear his fringes. That's off. You talk to the brother, you get on him, multiple times, and the brother still refuses to, put his fear and his trust in the Most High, but yet rather to put his fear and his trust in Babylon the Great and in Esau. All right, if you letting this place overthrow your mind, you're gonna be sifted right out. And it's really self-examining too. All right, that go back to self-examination as well. See and ask yourself, is your heart really in this thing? Like how it's saying in Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter, verse 14. I'm doing a lot of paraphrasing for lack of time. But nonetheless, let's go to Galatians again. Let's go back to Galatians. All right, let me see what I want. Let's go to Galatians. I believe that's chapter 2. Because even with Paul, it's like not Paul, Peter, even with Peter. Paul had to check Peter. Why? Because, he was caught up around the Gentiles in the wrong spirit. Let's get Galatians 2 and verse, I believe that's verse number 11, right? Galatians 2 and verse 11, right? And it reads, but when Peter was come to Antioch, I must read it verse 10 for context sake, right? It says, only they that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forwarded, it's like I also was forward to do. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. So it said when he came to Antioch, Paul said that he withstood him, meaning he checked him to his face. Why? Verse 12. For before that, certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. So it said Peter, or Paul, he said Peter, he feared those men that were of the circumcision. So Peter at one point, and he's the rock of the church. All right, he's the rock. So even at one point in time, Peter, he got faint-hearted. And he feared the circumcision, which was, the Jews at that point, men that were Pharisees, men that forced men to be circumcised. They were over much zealous in the law and lacked faith. And guess what? Peter, he kind of conformed when he was around those individuals. And Paul, he had to be his brother's keeper. He had to get on Peter and check him for that. And guess what? There's no account of Peter bucking up. There's no account of Peter rebuking Paul back. Guess what? Peter, he took that correction. And we read on later, and you're going to read it in the Bible, but when we go into history, Peter, he died a martyr for the Lord. Meaning that fear that he had within him, it was purged out. Over time, it was purged out. Speaking on Peter, let's go to Matthew 14. All right, another account, It's going to be my last account through the Spirit. Let me get my closing. Let's go to Matthew 14 and verse 25. It's Matthew 14 and 25. It says, and in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, is it a spirit? And they cried out for fear, right? Of course, we know this is the account of Yahushua, walking on the waters, and the apostles or the disciples at this time, seeing them walk on water. It says, but straightway Yahushua spake unto them, saying, behold, it's like it's saying, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. So guess what? Peter, he was walking with the Lord at one point, in his context. He always walked with the Lord. I want to say that. He always walked with the Lord. But in this context, the Lord called him to test his faith. So he came out and he's walking to Yahushua. Right? Verse 29 again. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Yahushua stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore that is thy doubt? And us in this truth, we have to make sure that our whole entire confidence and faith and trust is in the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. But with that, again, that was a quick video. Got to kind of clock back in. First and foremost, again, want to give all praise to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Lord, one that was edifying. Again, do not let this world, do not let the sayings of this place overthrow you. Don't let the sayings of this place cause you to be faint-hearted. And remember to always put your trust in the Most High God, right? The God of Yasha Allah, Allah Hayanawa Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashak, Wamalak, Hatzazdak, Yahweh. With that, I want to say, Kwam Yashala, Shalom.